My name is Ruben Cruz. I'm running for State Senate in District 16 in Queens, and I'm here with Tom Zmich, who is running for Congress. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Ruben. How you doing? Good afternoon.
I'm doing really good. I wanted to know a little bit more about what you're doing. What district of Congress are you running in?
Yes, my name is Tom Zmich, and I'm running in District 6, Congressional District 6 in Queens, New York, which encompasses everywhere from Bayside all the way over to Ridgewood in Queens, and from roughly Jamaica all the way up to Whitestone.
Okay.
And at this point right now, we are in a race against a woman called Grace Meng, who's been an incumbent there for over 8 years. I am running on a platform of saving our values here in this country. Last week, the House of Representatives voted on a bill that they're putting in, that was put in by a Republican, to stop any kind of medical rights to children under 18 to be allowed to make their own decisions. And what happened was they voted on it, and every single Democrat voted against parental rights to let the children under 18 make their own medical decisions. So we have a big fight with that, okay? Because every single one of the Democrats voted against it, and because they have the majority, that bill is not going to go forward to the Senate to be voted on. And that's one of the big main issues that is going on. And of course, as you know, the crime issue here around the country is very big. We support the police, we support law enforcement, we support what we all feel is the ultimate safety and security of our neighborhoods, to be able to go out to the store at night and during the day, even to ride the trains, ride the subway. We need to make sure that our country is safe for everyone. I mean, the government is collecting the taxes for that, and they're not doing their job. So we need to vote out everyone that's in there, who's been in there, for the incumbents that have been in there for all this time, and to make sure that we can bring back some kind of semblance of order in all of this chaos that has been caused. Because, all these incumbents that are in there, they've been in there and they've caused this mess, and people are not realizing that if you don't get rid of them and put in new people, it's going to continue and it's only going to get worse.
Tell me, Tom, you mentioned something about values, and it made me think about how we all grow up, and I think how we grow up really establishes the kind of values that we have. Tell me, where were you born? Where did you grow up? What was life like growing up?
Well, I was born in Elmont, Long Island. My family moved back to Ozone Park here in Queens, back in the 60s. And I went to St. Stanislaus Catholic School for 8th grade. I went to Franklin K. Lane High School. I've also gone to Queens College and Institute of Design and Construction, that became my major in a way, construction management. I was 37 years in the union, actually 38 years now. I am retired now after all this time. I started out when I was young, working during the summers and on weekends with a neighbor of mine who was a retired bricklayer, and in construction, doing concrete and brickwork on houses. And I used to help him out. I used to be like the laborer for him.
Wow. Where was that?
Over in Ozone Park.
Over in Ozone Park?
And, it was a very good experience for me. It kept me off the streets. It kept me, wanting money, because we were making money. I was getting paid at the time. And
how old
I
were
learned
you
a lot.
at
I'm 58 years old.
No, I mean at that time.
Oh, at that time I was about 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 58, 57, so we're basically the same guy. I grew up in Brooklyn, and I was born in Brooklyn. I grew up in Richmond Hill, Ozone Park, so I moved here when I was 7, and went to PS 62, wound up at the brand new Virgil I. Grissom 226 when it first opened, and I went to Richmond Hill High. So Richmond Hill, Franklin.
So we were
Taylor,
competitors.
We were competitors. In fact, we had something you must remember. It's Sing.
Sing, yeah, okay,
So
yeah, that was
in
the
schools,
arts and, yeah.
in the schools, we had this thing. So everyone knows about the show Glee. Well, we had a competition called Sing. So every grade, the 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, they would create a short musical and use popular songs and create a story and do a presentation. And there would be a performance, and the best sing won. This was in each school. But there was a year, and you had to be going there at the time because we're only a year.
I was there from 78 to 81.
And I was 79 to 83. So there was one of those things.
Yeah, we overlapped.
We were definitely in the same school at the time. So we had an inter-school sing. So the winners from Richmond Hill High School went to compete against the winners at Franklin K. Lane. And the winners that year were the sophomore, of which I was a sophomore, going up against the seniors at Franklin K. Lane. It was epic. Just the idea of going to another school and competing against someone else. We lost, but it was such a good time. I mean, we got to go to a different school and compete.
Yeah, it was quite an experience, I can imagine, because
it was incredible.
that promotes the competition, and that's what America's all about.
It is.
The idea of being out there, getting the experience for your life values going forward, to learn how to take disappointment, learn what defeat is about, and getting back on your feet and going forward. Just like with businesses and stuff like that, people are always trying to do, and that's the great opportunity about being in America, is because you have the opportunity to do that. And sadly enough, the people that are in office now and in certain parties have this progressive idea that everybody's, this equity thing, that everybody's the same. No, not everybody's not the same. And like you say, that experience is something that you remember. It's in your mind, and it fashioned you going forward for the competition-wise, for doing better for yourself and family value type thing, where you brush yourself off and get back in the race. It's not the end of the world.
Now, you talked about you were helping out a bricklayer at 11 years old, right? Mm-hmm. So I had a similar experience. My neighborhood was a lot of older people, and I took to taking on jobs with them. So I learned a lot about repair and how to be an electrician. There was so many working class people that had so many different jobs. I learned a little bit of everything. So
that's basically.
I think that's part of what instilled the value of work and sticking to it. Nowadays, we know that when you got into a job, that was basically your job for life. And if you switched to another job, that kind of went against you. People didn't like people moving in and out of jobs. Now it's common practice to spend 1 to 3 years at one place and then move on to another. How do you feel about that? I'm kind of conflicted. In a way, it's kind of good. Well, for people to get different experiences and backgrounds.
Yeah, it's an overall, because not everything is one way in life, so the more roundabout experience that you get in trade schools, out on the street, working with different people, it definitely prepares you for life, for anything that life can throw at you. Mm-hmm. And, by saying that, life isn't fair and you're entitled to something in America, you're not. You have to work for it. You have to work for everything you got. And like I said, with my experience, like I said, working during the summers and weekends, in the springtime and in the fall on weekends, while all my friends were at the beach and enjoying themselves and playing baseball in the park, I was out making money. And like I said, I learned the value of saving money, going forward, bank account and stuff like that. Young, even though I was underage, my parents took care of that. And going forward, it shaped me to be who I am now, because I ended up working in a metal shop, working for an American casino company. We did, I was working 7 days a week until I was almost 24, 25 years old. From the time I was 17, I graduated in 3 years from high school. I had enough credits to graduate, and because I was working weekends at the time when I was in senior year, in junior year, senior year, I was already making money, and I wanted to get out as quick as possible so I could work full time. I was working full time. Because my father passed the comment and says, "I'm not taking a second mortgage to send you to college." He said, "You better get out and get to work." And that's what my mother always taught us: is you make your own bed, you sleep in it. You got to make your own money. You want money, we're not going to give it to you. You need to be self-sufficient, and that's what we need to teach the kids. The kids today is to be self-sufficient. Mommy and daddy's not going to be around the whole time to hold your hand. You need to get up and like the birds, kick the birds out of the nest and let them fly on their own.
So I want to ask you, you're deciding to run. What motivates you to run for office?
The motivation that I have to run is the frustration of how the socialist ideology is overtaking this country. Mm-hmm. I was getting very upset watching news and things that are happening, because things that are happening today, those things were unheard of years ago here in Queens. Last year I ran for borough president. We lost. But it was a great experience because we tried to present to people what it was like back then. That I remember, 30, 40 years ago, you would hear maybe once every couple of months somebody was robbed, somebody was shot. Now it's every single day something is happening here. And it's not because of the report, not meaning that it was suppressed back then. But everybody knew everybody in the neighborhoods. Everybody knew whose family was who, or friends, or somebody was related. So everybody had a lot of respect for each other. Nowadays, it just seems to be the respect is thrown out the window. And like I said, you were talking about taking a bicycle or doing stuff to go to school. I was big on back in the late '70s, early '70s. I had a skateboard. I had one of the first non-roller skateboards, because people used to make their own skateboards back then
out of roller skates
and nail them to
and
a piece of wood and everything.
Steel ball bearing.
Yeah, with the steel. Oh, it was crazy.
Not what we're used to today.
And I'll never forget. I used to like I said. I was at that time. I was maybe 10 years old or so, and I used to go. There was a supermarket down the block, and I used to stand outside and ask people if they needed help with their packages, to make a dime, to make a quarter, helping people, because they had the bars around, so people had to carry the packages from the bars to their car.
Yeah.
And Thanksgiving time, Christmas time, and one of my fondest memories is coming home with my pockets full of quarters, and I made $80 in one day.
Wow.
Outside there. And my mother was like, "What are you doing? How you been gone all day?" I said, "Ma, look at this." And I was pulling out all the change. She said, "Oh my God, look at this." You know what I mean? So I split the money with my mother, because at the time, everybody contributed back then. You know what I mean? Then I went back out and tried to make some more money. You know,
that's interesting, because it makes me think about how we have to campaign and stuff. I'm running for state senate in District 16 against John Liu, and I guess I'm going to ask you as a voter, what do you want to know from me as far as why I'm running? What would you ask me?
Exactly.
And make it the tough questions.
Your motivation to run, obviously, your family, raising your family, and this like when I ran last year, my biggest thing that I try to explain to people is the way the city is going and the things that are happening in this city and with the laws that they created, how do you feel that we can be able to stop what's happening, the downgraded degradation of our society by allowing criminals to get away with what they are? Mm-hmm. And in your own words, explain what we can do to prevent this.
Wow.
To stop this.
So this is a real question. Came to me just now about where we are, and in a lot of ways you explained where we are right now, and what I could do to change that. I've always been working with people, working in the arts, working with seniors and kids. I left corporate America in 2006, and my wife and I started a company doing arts and culture and health and wellness programs for seniors, as well as bilingual musical theater for kids. And in that process, we worked on getting funding from city council and developing those relationships. I became pretty good at writing grants and helping other nonprofits get grants.
That's an art in itself.
It's
to be able to do that,
challenging art, but things got more difficult. And let's face it, the pandemic changed everything, or it should have changed everything. I saw a lot of things didn't change. One, our leaders, our political leaders that we were looking to get us through this mess, for the most part, took a vacation during that time. Yes, our government, our nation came through and worked on getting us funding, getting us through with unemployment and things like that. But we were hoping for our leaders to come through and say, I'm here with you every day, and they weren't. And that was not only a disappointment. I did a lot of outreach to try to help. And quite frankly, it was like, you know what, we don't need your help. We got it. And that's when I said, that's it. I was really hoping that last year's elections was a prime example of where we could go. So we now have more than half of city council is brand new. And I think that gives us a chance to get rid of that old way of thinking and think of new ways that we need to run our communities, help our communities post-pandemic with all the chaos that was going on. And basically all levels of city government changed over, borough presidents, new mayor. So we were hoping for things to get better. I'm seeing the grand disappointment, quite frankly, of our mayor, that I was hopeful. He seemed like such a strong guy, you know, a police background and on top of things, and more or less sidestepping all the time. And quite frankly, in the state government, we're seeing the same thing. Overall in government, we're seeing the same thing. And I said, what can I do to help? Every day that I walk out of this door of my house, I say, what can I do better? What can I do different? In the beginning of the pandemic, like I said, I offered to help my local council member, and I was first one there. I got boxes set up. They had a food pantry for the community. I got everything set up. I made sure all the people were there. I had a count of who was there, and I get an email later that night. Oh, we don't need you back here. Because of COVID, we don't want too many people there. It's a pandemic, and it's a pantry. There's hundreds of people there. So to say I was one too many said something
they made it political.
Wrong.
That's what they did.
They made it political, I guess.
They turned everything into politics.
But you know what? That motivated me more because I got the idea of working. I saw an ad for the ASPCA. They were distributing food for pets in Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Manhattan, but not in Queens. So I was like, that's strange. And I called up and I made arrangements with some neighbors to pick up food for them from Queens in Brooklyn. When I went to Brooklyn, I said, hey, what's up with Queens? Why no love for Queens? And they said, honestly, we don't have enough people to take care of it. So I said, I'll do it. Now, they didn't know me from anyone in the street that you met. So, of course, they were like, oh, yeah, thank you, sir. We appreciate that. But I gave them the card of the organization that I'm in with my wife, the Latin American Intercultural Alliance. And 2 days later, I was surprised. I was on a conference call with the Mayor's Office of Animal Welfare, ASPCA, and the Humane Society. And after about 2 hours of talking about what we do and what they do, they agreed to make me the person in charge of all of Queens. I got together.
The funding for all of this came from them.
The funding from all of the, well, let me put it this way. We got no funding whatsoever.
Okay.
It was completely volunteer. I had to get the trucks. They provided the food. They had a warehouse in the Bronx.
Someone had to.
So, yeah. So they provided all the food, and I provided the infrastructure. So they had like rented out these closed supermarkets or whatever. And since my wife and I work so much with the Parks Department, my idea was to use all the Queens parks. So at that time, there were no permits being given out for working at the
Yeah,
parks
they,
during
yeah,
the
right.
pandemic.
They weren't giving any permits for the parks.
And
right.
fortunately, since we had such a long relationship, we had an agreement, nothing official, that we could set up at the parking lots of the park. So I had a volunteer who had some trucks, big trucks, and we brought this food to parks along Queens, and I set up the times and let people know, and it was
Like
an
each week?
incredible. Each week, on Saturday, we said we're going to be at Forest Park, we're going to be at Astoria Park, we're going to be at Rockaway Park, and that's what we did, and it was such a great experience to do something so different. People said, "Ruben, this is a great idea. Nobody ever thought of it, and you did it." And I think that's what told me
Sure.
that this is what I need to do, because John Liu has been around for a long time. His name for me is like Gloria Vanderbilt. You know that she had those genes, but nobody has those genes anymore. He has not done anything for us, but take up space. No programming to speak of. He's run for everything, scandal here or whatever, but too passive to get things done. Right now, I work in elder justice. So I work with the State Office of Victim Services, and I get reports from 4 precincts of all the crimes that happen in those precincts. And anyone 60 or over, I do an outreach, I see what their needs are, and very few people know that the state has funds to refund up to $500 to seniors that suffered a crime, such as the catalytic converters that have been a big thing around here, and fraud, other kinds of
telephone
issues,
fraud when they call on the phone.
telephone fraud
and
that
everything.
happens quite often. So that's something that I can definitely do, and at the end of the day, I know I helped somebody
It's a
specifically.
constituent issue that should be at the forefront of a lot of things, especially taking care of our elderly. And a lot of people claim to be taking care of the elderly, but you seem to be more on board, with, more on top of it than with our actual elected officials.
It's about really doing it, as opposed to talking about,
Boots on the ground.
you know, we need to lower taxes. Then lower the damn taxes. As you can see, I get passionate about it.
Oh, it's absolutely. It's a very passionate subject. When you're dealing with people who are selfish, people who are only out for themselves, looking to make their own, making money for themselves.
Well, if you want to know more about both of our campaigns, you could visit mine at rubencruz.nyc. That's RUBENCRUZ.NYC. Please feel free to really look over it closely. I'm also part of the candidate caucus. I'm being shown our cards that we could distribute, but I'm going to show that on the screen later, so we're not going to do that right now. The candidate caucus, of which Tom is our newest member, is a group of people who are running for office in different capacities: Congress, Assembly, State Senate, who are sharing resources, getting to know each other, sharing best practices, and uniting in a way to help each other get past the finish line. Tom, tell us how people could find out more about your campaign.
Well, our campaign has a website, Zmich2020.com. We also have Gmail. You can send us emails to zmich2020@gmail.com. We are on Twitter, Tom Zmich. We are on Instagram, Tom Zmich again. And we have on our website we have a message service where you can put in a request for something, and we will get back to you within 24 hours or so, immediately. Not like some of these politicians that are out there. We're on top of it. We have a team of people who answer these calls, people who follow up on constituent complaints, and this is how we're going to operate going forward. To be able to reach
how do you
out.
spell Zmich?
Zmich, Zmich with a Z. Just remember Z, like Zorro. We're going to come in like Zorro and straighten out the mess.
Zorro is Latino. I should be Zorro. What do you? Wait, no, something's wrong here. We got to figure this out. You could be Batman, and I'll be. But wait a second. If you're Batman, I could be Robin, because Robin and Ruben, still, it's not working
Robin
out.
and Ruben.
But you know, that's an interesting point, because...
I think that was a song, wasn't it?
Was it?
Ruben, Robin?
It could have been. It could have
Robin
been.
and Ruben?
But Tom Zmich's congressional district actually overlaps mine completely. My district for District 16 in Queens is actually within his district completely, as far as I could tell. So that's one of the reasons why it's good for us to get to know each other and feel out how we could work together in the future.
Absolutely.
I'm interested to know, as we close out today's show, what it is you hope to work with people like me in state senate, in state government, while you're in Congress. How do you see us working together?
Well, down in Washington, they have budgets, they have allocations, and they have committees and everything. To bring back to New York a voice of the people. Part of what I need to do in Washington when I get there is to combat the assault on our American value system that the leftist socialist Democrats have taken over practically down in Washington, and it reverberates down back to New York State, where, as you can see now, it is a one-party system here between governor, Senate, and Assembly. There are a lot of things that they changed. There's a lot of issues that came up, and because they have the majority, there's any opposition to them can't stop what they're doing. But if we need to get back at least some kind of semblance of balance, like we used to have years ago, when we had a Republican senator and a Democrat senator. I remember back in the 70s and the early 80s, that's what they did. They negotiated. Not it was my way or the highway type of politics. So we can bring that back to where we can all sit on a common ground without having to argue about things, because it is affecting everyday life for everyone. And we need to change that, and we need to bring some type of semblance of order back, funding the police back the way it used to be, changing the bail laws in New York State, and going forward for the security and safety of our citizens here.
Well, thank you, Tom. You're very knowledgeable. I really appreciate the time that you spent with us here. This is it for us for now. We're going to see you the next time, but you just met Tom Zmich, future Congress member for District
6 in Queens.
District 6 in Queens. And my name is Ruben Cruz. I'm running for State Senate in District 16 in Queens, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.